Hi guys, today I want to talk to you guys about no contact. I want to talk to you guys about giving yourself permission to go no contact, giving yourself permission to create a healthy space between yourself and not just, the person who is hurting you, but also with the people that enable that person and who are contributing to your trauma and to your pain in so many, many ways. Now, I've gone no contact several times in my life, and this is why I talk about this, and I've had several failed attempts at no contact. And that was because when I went no contact the first few times, I did not see the dysfunction in my family as a unit, as a system. I only went no contact with the person who was targeting me and who's targeted me ever since I was a child. I did not see clearly the role that other people played in the family dysfunction and in my trauma and in keeping me sick in these dynamics. And this is something that I only really started seeing when I truly went no contact with everybody for the last time. The last time that I spoke to any of them, the last time I didn't go no contact from a place of high reactivity or emotional, fire, so to speak, right? I actually went no contact from a place of realization that, this is never going to change. This is never going to change. I will never have a mother that loves me. I will never have a mother who will stop gaslighting me or who will wake up from, those demons that are plaguing her. There's nothing that I can do to help her. There's nothing that I can do to stop the other family members from denying that there's a huge problem in the household. There's nothing that I can do to make them see how much suffering this upbringing has caused me ever since I was a child. There's nothing that I could do. There's nothing that I could do. And I wrote a letter, to let them know that I just could not have a relationship with her anymore. And, the patterns ensued, right? It's always the same thing. I would let them know that I needed to set boundaries, that I needed to set, that I needed space to heal. And the response from my father was to argue and call me dysregulated and tell me that, my character and it's this and that, and, talk about all these irrelevant concepts. And I mean irrelevant really because I was diagnosed with a panic disorder, and this was something that I was dealing with at the time. And I had experienced a lot of health problems at the time from not going no contact. I got very, very sick. And so there was nothing malicious about this. It was truly, I went no contact because I could not have a relationship with that woman anymore. I have kids. I need to be a healthy mom. I need to take care of myself. And I truly need to have this space for myself to heal. And, I was... my sibling disowned me for this. I mean, I never heard from him again after that letter. And this was something that, he basically disowned me. And my father, he basically argued in circles, like I said, about my character and about how I contribute to the family dysfunction and how, this is my fault and that's my fault and so on, And so I went no contact and I cut everybody out. And throughout, I could tell you, a good 2-3 years, I felt incredibly guilty because I felt like I was the one who left my father behind. And I felt like I was the one who left my sibling behind. I felt like I was a traitor for a very long time. And this is basically the fog that these systems keep you in. They keep you in a fog of confusion. They keep you in a fog of self-doubt. They keep you in a fog of guilt, of false responsibility, you know, and you just can't see clearly because the normalizing of abuse is just, you know, they normalize dysfunction on so many levels. It's normalized at the family level, but it's also normalized culturally. Like if you come, there's many cultures in which hitting children with belts and objects is completely normalized. You know, like it was in my house. It was normal for my mother to do these things to me. You know, it was normal in my house that walls would be punched, and the screams and the terror and you know the silence and the heavy atmosphere that just dominated the household. You know, this is completely normalized, and I always ended up feeling like whenever I tried to do something to protect myself and to gain distance and to no longer be a part of this fog, you know, the guilt always came. And not just the guilt, but like I said, the false sense of responsibility always came. And I would experience it as images. Like I could imagine my father being sad, for example. I imagined, you know, I saw images, you know, of people being in pain that I really loved. And that was how I experienced it. But you know, the longer that I stayed no contact, the more this fog cleared, and the more that I was really able to start seeing clearly that actually that guilt was misplaced. Like there's no room. Like I had no business feeling guilty about anything. In fact, I was the one who was betrayed by my family. I was betrayed when I was a kid. I was betrayed when I was a teenager, while the adults in my life knew that this woman was very, very sick. And when I would tell my father as a teenager that I was begging him to bring her to see a therapist or a psychologist or a doctor of some sort to deal with her because something was wrong. She was not behaving normally. She never left the house. She didn't drive. She didn't cook. She cooked, but she didn't drive. She didn't go to the bank. She had no social life. There was nothing. All she did was stay in the house and release all of her hatred and release all her demons onto me. And it was the enablers really who would push the role that I was to be her nurse and her psychologist, that it was my job to be there for her and to, you know, to bring her out of the state that she would be in. And if I didn't do that correctly and then she would punish me for it, then it was my fault, right? It was the enablers, you know, and the betrayal of having a grown man really not like allow for this to happen and not protect his kid, his child, and not bring his wife to get the mental health that she needed, or at least do something to protect his kid. I mean, this betrayal is something that I could not see for a very long time. The betrayal of my sibling, you know, who would tell me consistently that I was the problem, and if I behaved better, then I wouldn't be targeted. And then basically having left me to fend for myself, you know, when I was just a young girl, you know. I mean, there was actually nobody to hold on to. But I was holding on to something out of desperation. But it wasn't real. It wasn't legitimate. That wasn't family. And it was really going no contact that many, many years down the line that helped me realize those things, that it actually wasn't that, you know, the level at which I've been betrayed And the fact that actually I am not responsible for my family's dysfunction, and that I was a product of my family dysfunction, but I was not responsible for my family dysfunction, and that what happened to me wasn't my fault, and that I am not responsible for somebody else's, personality disorder, which remains unaddressed till this day. You know what I mean? And so when you go no contact, eventually the fog clears. You start to see more clearly things that you could not see at all while you remain in the system. It's impossible to heal because, if you're consistently put in fight and flight mode, and on top of that, you're consistently surrounded by people who are telling you this is normal, this is normal, this is normal, this is normal, and you're a kid and you grow up like this, it becomes really, really, really difficult to find your own voice and to heal. It becomes so difficult to see the truth for what it is without having all this toxic stuff in the way, the fog that hides the truth. So when you go no contact, when you really go no contact, despite the confusion that you may feel, it will help you see more clearly in the aftermath and in the long run that actually none of it has anything to do with you, and that you don't owe anybody a relationship at all. You don't owe anybody a thing. After having gone no contact, that was really when I started to understand that life can actually be really peaceful and wonderful, that you can actually create really healthy and beautiful relationships for yourself. I started to understand what it meant to set healthy boundaries, and how not to freak out for setting boundaries, or for how not to fear abandonment, for saying no, or for being yourself, or for being authentic, or something like that, I started to learn that I could be safe in my body, that I could feel safe, that I could fall asleep safely, because that was something that lasted a long, long time. It took a long time to heal, was just being able to fall asleep without having nightmares, without waking up in the middle of the night out of breath. That was something that I experienced. I would, it was like sleep apnea. I would wake up like freaking out, thinking that I was about to die, and this is something that, there were so many things that I experienced actually in the aftermath, which I'm sure, of course, all of us have health problems and anxiety and panic and, and fears and hormonal imbalances and there's so many things that happened, that do happen physically when this is your type of upbringing, and it takes some time. It takes some time to be able to teach yourself that you're now safe, and that you can actually focus on yourself and focus on your healing and make yourself your own priority. For me, I have kids, and I want to tell you that I don't care what anybody says to me ever about there being a reason for my mother behaving the way she did all those years. That there's a reason, or maybe she's been through stuff, or maybe she has a disorder, or this or that. You know what? I don't care what the freaking reason is. Okay? I grew up in a dysfunctional home, and I grew up by somebody who would hit me to punish me, along with other things. And I have never done that to my kids. I will never raise a hand on my kids, because it's wrong and it's not normal. And anybody with decency will know this. You don't, I mean, if I were to, I mean, this advice is this thought pattern is so hypocritical, because if I were to hit my kids, what do you think would happen to me? Of course I'm going to be rightfully, I would rightfully get in trouble, right? Because you're not supposed to, be violent towards your own children or towards anybody, as a matter of fact, right? But when it comes to scapegoating for survivors, this is something that I hear, that the enablers, they will tell survivors, oh, yeah, they hit you, they were violent with you, they did stuff to you, but they have a difficult upbringing. No. If there's no accountability, there's no sorry, there's no nothing, the dysfunction just continues, and that's the explanations that they give you. And they give you these explanations so that you continue remaining in these relationships and just take it like it's okay. I mean, no, this is ludicrous. And I couldn't care less about what explanation you gotta tell me about why this person was violent with me, and why this person attempted to completely destroy me and isolate me, and all the things that she did. This is just not, the reasons why she did that are just not my problem. I care about accountability. I care about accountability. I care about, owning up to your mistakes, owning up to what you did, apologizing when you have to apologize, working on your personal development, go get help, do what you need to do. That's what I care about. That's what's important, is when you take accountability and when you do what you need to do. But in those families, that's not what happens. And so, don't come and tell me that, don't go and tell a survivor, that they have to do something that they don't feel comfortable doing because so-and-so, because of whatever reason you come up with. There's never a good reason to hit. There's never a good reason to psychologically dismantle a child, okay? There's never a good reason for that, okay? There just isn't. Now, I'm here to tell you that it's possible to live a good life, to live in peace, to not have nightmares. It's really possible, and going no contact is, in my opinion, the best thing that you can do for yourself. To completely separate yourself from this type of dysfunction and to fully focus on yourself, to fully focus on your needs, on your relationships that matter. If you have kids, you focus on your kids, focus on recreating a life for yourself that is truly aligned with who you are and with what you want, and focusing on never looking back at those things again. Because when those in order for there to be healing in a family, in these types of families, every single family member would have to really introspect on themselves, and introspect on the role that they played in contributing to the dysfunction. And everybody would have to stop denying that there's actually a problem. They would have to stop denying that there's actually a problem, and actually having these important conversations that are completely avoided and denied and ignored. So unless this happens, it's not in your power to change the dynamics of your family system. It's not in your power to do that. You don't have the power to change how they behave. You can't. I mean, this is something that they are going to have to figure out on their own. If you look at the patterns, of course it's important to communicate and to talk about your feelings, but if this is a pattern that's been going on and on and on and on for years and years and years, there's nothing that you can do. There's nothing that you can do other than really protect yourself and prioritize yourself. So just remember that when you come out of these systems, and while you're in those systems, your mind is in a fog. And all those feelings of confusion and the feelings of guilt and all those feelings of fear and shame, these feelings you will be able to slowly begin to address. It's going to be a lot easier to heal from that when you leave the place that keeps causing them. Okay? You're not going to find healing in a place that keeps hurting you. That's not where you're going to heal. So your focus really needs to be on yourself and on creating a sacred space for yourself where you are your priority. No contact will help you heal, and no contact will help you see things that you could not see while you were in the system. No contact is how, in my opinion, you can really start to focus on yourself And the longer that you stay away, the more that you see how dysfunctional the whole thing actually really is. So that's what I have to say about that today. And look, I hope this helped you, and take care of yourself, prioritize yourself, love and trust yourself. And remember, like I said, the longer you stay away, the more things are going to clear up for you.